The year is 2021, and you're excited to finally be at TABConf, as it took you a little while to find the place given the rather large convention center. You walk towards the registration booth and you're handed both a wristband and a physical coin. You strap on your wristband, pocket the coin, and explore what the conference has to offer. You say hi to Jimmy, and then you walk into your first room. You've walked into a workshop, and you're just on time to find a seat. Jeremy is teaching the metaphorical Tai Chi Bitcoin programming moves you've been reading about. And yes, I'm trying to be a little funny here. You decide to do some more workshops. You later learn about Keysen from Paul and DLCs from Ben. Afterwards, you stumble upon the gaming village, and you learn that you can win Bitcoin here by playing some video games. Half an hour later, you walk away with 50,000 sats and you're feeling pretty good. A lot of fun and interesting activities are going on. People are sharing ideas and learning is going on everywhere. You come to realize the worst thing about this conference is there's so many cool things going on at the same time. Not to mention the stacked panels of Bitcoin core developers. You step aside and take a breather, grab your phone out of your pocket, but you feel that coin that you pocketed earlier and you decide to take it out and give it another look. You realize the backside has a lot of information. You soon understand this is no ordinary coin, and now you're investigating. Welcome to the TABConf 2021 CTB, or Capture the Bitcoin, review. I hope you liked that little story and summary of last year's conference. We're going to go over the CTB and show you what you missed out on. This is for the ones that are curious that were too busy at the conference or simply just couldn't make it to Atlanta last year. So back to this coin. This unassuming coin that was handed out to attendees. We see what looks like a 3D block shape on the inside. And to Bitcoiners that have looked into proof of work to some technical degree, they'll see a significant amount of zeros here, probably indicating that this is a block hash. Now wrapped around the coin are a bunch of characters, and you'll notice the characters are all numbers or A through F. This indicating we are probably looking at something also in base 16 or hex encoded. For those who don't know, the SHA-256 hash function is used in and throughout Bitcoin. And the hash function results in a 32 byte of deterministically random data. This data is typically displayed by 64 hex characters. So if you're doing the math, there's 2 hex characters per byte. So the characters wrapping the coin are obviously not a block hash, but it's worth seeing if we can find something if we plug this into a block explorer. Let's use blockstream.info as our block explorer, and this is a free public resource that Blockstream hosts. Let's type in what we see, and let's see if we can find anything here. If your assumption was that this was a transaction ID or a TX ID, congratulations, you would be correct. We see here the details of the transaction, like it being mined in block 691382. We see a transaction also has an op return, and the return data contains a URL. If you see here, tabconf.com/scavenger hunt. Putting this into a browser, let's see what we get. And we are redirected to tabctb.com. Now this seems like a pretty simple web page. There's a picture here and there's text that says, should we bring you to the scavenger hunt? Now attendees who made it this far are not really given much information. They would have needed to know to dig deeper. Now let's take a look at the source code of the website. And it seems we have found something, an HTML comment. We're given the comment, follow the white rabbit. The rabbit suggests you try appending URL paths.
Follow the white rabbit.
Hey, what do you think, DeShore? Should we take him with us?
Come on. It'll be fun. I promise.
Just in case for those who didn't know, this was one of the many iconic scenes in The Matrix. Knowing the Matrix movie isn't necessary for the CTB, but those who recognize this scene may have known to look for the white rabbit without seeing the HTML comment hint. As attendees walked by the registration desk, we had a table with, you guessed it, a white stuffed rabbit, just kind of sitting there minding its own business. Also on that table was a torn sheet of paper with just got to be here to see it, with slashes. So no real context around that. If you take the clue from the HTML comment and append this to the end of the URL, I guess you could say We are going down the rabbit hole. Let's put this at the end of the URL and see what we get.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
After some masterful editing, you can see the situation has been converted to orange pill or blue pill. We are finally welcomed to the CTB, but this welcoming acts more as a warning for attendees. They have just begun. As an attendee, you are faced with a dilemma. Do I spend time on this or check out other things going on at the conference? But Morpheus does offer us Bitcoin, as you see at the bottom.
Remember, all I'm offering is
Bitcoin. So in our case, since the conference is already over, and this is a review, we're going to go for it. There's some cheeky edits to Morpheus's quote. Let's once again see if there's any comments. Orange, something orange. This isn't really much help. How do I guess we take the orange pill? There's no clear instruction. Recounting the conference, I remember very clearly there was a team who got stuck at this point, and they ended up explaining to me that they were struggling to find something orange. And I told them, who knows, it could be closer to you than you think. And this just didn't help them at all. They came back later, and I said, it could be right under your nose. And they were still baffled. I'm going to ask you now, have you guessed what the something orange is yet? It was the thing that they have been carrying around the entire conference. It was on their wrist. Although seemingly obvious, it wasn't for many. And if you did think it was the wristband, then what was an attendee to do with this wristband? What was the next step? Well, if you saw the bulge in the middle of the wristband and guessed there was an NFC chip, you'd be correct. After scanning the NFC tag, you would see 3 text records. The first says secret path, challenge accepted. You see the next piece of data says secret 1, and then what looks like gibberish. And finally, we have secret 2, which says drawer 000001. Let's go ahead and accept the challenge by appending the URL path to the end. If you're thinking this wasn't intuitive, it's because it isn't. When giving away Bitcoin, it's good to use proof of work or proof of struggle. We finally see the Bitcoin address for the grand prize. This was in efforts to let the attendee know if the Bitcoin had been swiped and if their efforts would be futile. Let's take a look at the address on blockstream.info. We can see all the related transactions to this address. I'll leave it for you to explore more if you're interested. But as we can see, there's 0.026 Bitcoin that were available, or roughly, at the time, $1,500. Another thing to note, attendees who made it this far were rewarded with the password to unlock the wristband. Shadowy Supercoder 21. This would allow them to write over the data on the wristband if they later wanted to customize or hack their wristband for some project. We're also given the next clue, Secret 2 reversed. If you remember, Secret 2 was drawer 000001. So if this is reversed, it's, let's go ahead and append it, 100,000 reward. So putting that at the end of the URL path, we're now prompted with urgency to swipe some Bitcoin. And we're given what looks like a seed phrase. There's additional information that says, have you ever used Electrum? This is a useful hint about Electrum. In case you didn't know, there are different standards for seed phrases, even though many nowadays use the standard BIP 39 words. We're also able to see what looks like some vanity text. Did you giggle? You thought it was over? Only the first one gets a little prize, alluding to the hunt is not over. Pay attention that there are certain words in double quotes, and this is going to be important for later. Let's go ahead and plug these words into Electrum and see what we get. Voila! After plugging into Electrum, we see the history of the transactions relating to these seed words. We can now investigate some of these transactions. A side note, this wasn't found until about lunchtime on the first day of the conference. One of the transactions related to this seed phrase is a transaction with the op return. When we look at this transaction, we see the op return data is next URL / election receipts, comma, secret 3 mad dog. We'll know the next URL, so let's punch it in and continue down the path. We now see what very well was the most difficult part of the entire challenge. Can you guess what one should do if they see this page? The only hint is this is where working on a team could help. If you guess these 12 pictures relate to another 12-word seed phrase, you would be correct. But you have to remember, although this may seem easy, one wrong word will mess up everything, and you will have no idea which of the pictures you messed up. As you saw, one of the pictures was Edward Snowden. Going to the BIP39 word list, you see snow is a possible word. You also see rebel is a possible word. And this is when remembering the double quoted words from earlier really comes in handy. If you ignored the vanity text on the previous page, this is nearly impossible. Another example was a lot of people thought the mouse was a mouse instead of little, such as Stuart Little. This context helps as well if you had someone younger on your team who may know this. And even if you didn't read those clues, you would struggle with other words like dictionary being define instead of book or something else. Another side note, there was one team in particular I remember. They were so excited to finally accomplish this step, and their last word they figured out was ankle. I recall them saying they thought for sure it was either toe or foot. They ended up calling themselves Team Ankles after this. Another one I remember being hard was people thought the primary color wheel was color instead of primary. After discovering the next 12-word seed and seeing the transaction history populate, we can see another op return, a clue, and another 100,000 sats to swipe. And in case you're wondering why there's sats in each of these seed phrases, it's because we want to track the progress of how fast these people are actually getting to certain steps. It was a little past the closing ceremony on the first day of the conference when this seed phrase was discovered correctly and someone took the 100,000 sats here. All right, and the clue reverse concat pets secret 3. It's almost like pseudocode. You can see the parentheses. If you recall, secret 3 was mad dog. If we look at the logical operators here and try to parse and decode it manually, we'll understand concat, short for concatenate or connect, pets to mad dog. So yielding pets mad dog. If you reverse pets mad dog, you get, well, let's see. And yep, goddamn step. A little punny on the difficulty of the last step. We are now told the secret is a 3 of 3 multisig, and that we have 2 of the 3 answers. Essentially, we're looking for this last seed. Now it's clear. And there's a subtle joke here, if you understand it. Seriously. We are then told to XOR with a hex key for secret 1, and we're told that secret is 21. Now, do you remember that gibberish that we talked about on the wristband? We're going to use that now. So we're going to go to another free online resource called Decode. It's great for trivial quick tasks such as encoding and decoding with various ciphers. And we're simply going to plug in the raw data with the XOR function, make 21 the key, and the result here on the left you see, good job Neo, the slash indicating this yet another path continuation. Let's go ahead and plug this in. We are told we're almost done, and as a stopgap security measure, in case someone was able to bypass and figure out all the URL paths ahead of time, we had an in-person human element for the final seed phrase. You're directed to say your team size and your team name with the idea you'll be given the last seed. After sending the email, you'll get a canned response email back, which says, find someone with a black wristband. and say to them, I do not believe it to be a matter of hope. It is simply a matter of time. Do not interrupt talks or panels. They will answer you with a clue pertaining to the White Rabbit. For attendees that received this email, it was clear that there were more than one type of wristband, other than the white and orange ones. Speakers were given white wristbands, other attendees were given orange, but a few people had a black wristband and were simply told, if anyone comes up to you saying this phrase, just respond, it's inside, and don't say anything more. Back to the rabbit. The carcass of the white rabbit had been gutted, the stuffing taken out, and instead the insides contained a few copies of the last seed phrase. The unassuming rabbit strikes again. With this, the puzzle was solved. It was the next morning on the second day of the conference that Team Ankles beat out the other teams and swept the funds. There were two other teams, I guess you could say, that were on the heels of Team Ankles. Shout out to Team Custos and Missed Conference, who also completed the challenge. Thanks for listening to this review. And if you liked the review of the 2021 TABConf CTB, make sure to come back and check out the CTB for 2022. For making it this far, I want to gift you a promo code CTB. Use this during checkout to receive a discount on your TABConf 2022 ticket. We're also taking orders for the silver rounds while supplies last. And also show us some love. Give us a follow on Twitter at TABConf. I hope to see you in Atlanta for TABConf 2022. It's going to be October 12th through 15th. Go to tabconf.com for more detail and how to book your hotel and ticket. And remember, code CTB. Thank you.